back to what I was saying. If the roof was in shambles due to foot traffic, like they say, if a windstorm came along, it would not need to reach that high of wind speeds in order to cause further damage to this roof. And that's the key, my friend. If one single tile was damaged, okay, from the new windstorm, even though it had hundreds and hundreds of cracks already on it, if one single tile suffered a new crack, that constitutes new direct physical damage to that roof. What's up, brother?
Hey, Chad, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Pretty good. You're getting ready for a meeting later on and having to deal with an engineer.
Engineer, huh?
Yeah.
Seems to be the hot topic as of late.
So we try to get in contact with you. I know you're a busy man. I just recently, had that video that came out like afterwards.
The engineer video.
Yeah, the latest video that
Don't fall for this trap video. This roofing trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. So you have a roofing project?
Yes, it's about a 75 square total project. It's got details, all the tiles. The homeowner gave me a call.
Did you say? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said TPO over tile?
Actually, no. It's modified. The flat roof as well. It's modified, and then also the house tile.
Okay.
So the house is a pretty big house. There's 3 sections that is flat. One, I guess, the entertainment, one's the living room, and one's probably like maybe the indoor gym. So all those are like flat sections, and everything surrounding it is all tile roof. So he gave me a call saying that he's got a leak, wants to go take a look at it, and verifying where the leak was coming from, which is a flat section. But as I was doing the inspection, the whole house of the tile part, there was a minimum of like 45 or 50 plus tiles that were cracked, broken. So there could be leaks everywhere throughout the house, but it is something that needs to get repaired or replaced. And so in the beginning, he just focused on just wanting to do the flat roof. I'm still new to the insurance. Actually, I wasn't aware of insurance that much at that time until later on. That's when I'm starting to now really get into insurance. So I decided to ask him, how would you feel if you were to pursue the insurance route? And he agreed to that. So went ahead and went back. We made the claim, or he made the claim for the adjuster to come out. So I went out to, maybe an hour before the adjuster came just to chop things up. But I wasn't aware the owner had fixed the majority of the cracked tiles with the leftover tiles he had that came with the house. But some of them were just glued together, and it was pretty obvious where those things are. But he failed to mention that he did that repair. I'm like, okay, I wasn't aware of that. So then came the adjuster. We walked the roof. He did see, all the tiles that were sealed up, and some that were replaced, and then there's still some that are cracked. But at the end, he just denied it, saying it was just mechanical, or it was caused by foot traffic. So we still proceeded to give him the Xactimate for what was to replace the roof, and also just stating that it is a discontinued tile. So it's a tile that cannot be found anymore, or if they were to send it to IPEL, they can't find it.
Okay, let me stop. Let me stop you real quick if you don't mind. So I just want to make sure I'm with you so far. So the adjuster denied it based on, he said there was foot traffic, and that was the reason why the tile was broken. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what he's stating.
Okay, but then you said he gave you an Xactimate estimate for what exactly?
We gave them an Xactimate.
Oh,
estimate.
You gave the Xactimate estimate, and you gave that to who?
They sent it, I guess, through the claims department.
Okay, so you gave it to the insurance company.
Yes, not him.
Okay, and did you give that to the original field adjuster, or you sent it to the
No, I believe it was a lady that does our supplements, and I believe she sent it to the I guess the main desk, or the one that was taking in touch with the homeowner, but it was not the adjuster though.
And you sent them an estimate for what exactly?
The replacement cost of the tile replacement. No, to replace the tile.
Okay, let me ask you this. You did that after they denied it and said it was based on foot traffic, so why did you send them the estimate?
Because apparently as well, he had mentioned to the homeowner to do a supplement, which I find it odd that he said that, and the owner told me about it, and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and proceed. So
so this was something that the adjuster, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, man, but I just want to make sure. So this is something that the adjuster
told the homeowner.
They wanted an estimate for the replacement, and why? And this is because I'm assuming after they were denied, the homeowner called the insurance company to complain or to get another look, or what was that?
Yes, I believe it was the homeowner, the one that did our supplement. They gave them a call, and
So
as they sent them
a company that does your supplements.
It's not a company. It's just another. She's a lady that used to be a public adjuster. Used to work for Allstate, but she doesn't do that anymore. Now she works for another company, but she still knows how to do Xactimate. So I had her go ahead and do the Xactimate.
Now I remember you telling me about her now. So okay, so she kind of handles your estimates and supplementing with the insurance companies, and she contacted the insurance company. I'm guessing she was asking for a reinspect, maybe. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, probably. But I think the number that was popped in the Xactimate triggered probably for them to send out the engineer.
Okay.
So,
yeah, and I just want to say right here, I think you know this because you said you called because of that video, right? And in the video, I was saying to watch out for that trap, basically, right? Like try to avoid sending them that estimate because more than likely, if it's ever going to trigger an engineer, that would be the thing to do it, right? And so I just want to make sure you caught that because this would be a valuable. I know it sucks that it happened, and so I'm going to help you, figure out. But I mean,
this happened all before.
Right.
I got to know who you were in the video.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
All right.
No worries, man. But I just want to make sure you got that going forward, we now know, and not even just from the video, but from what's happening with this. Let's try to stay away from that trap, right? Let's try not to send them the estimate if at all possible, right? But that's okay. I mean, it's not like you did a bad thing, Like you're trying to get the repairs bought and paid for. So, okay, now let's move forward. Sorry for the interruption, but the engineer or the adjuster Once that estimate was sent, the adjuster then said, "Whoa, Nelly, let's stop the press for a second. Let's hit pause, and let's send an engineer out to find out if it's even covered damages," right? And if you don't mind my asking, you may have told me this already, but wind or hail?
We're going for wind uplift. Here down in Brownsville, where it's like Brownsville, where the roof is at, it's border of Mexico. There is honestly really not much hail that happens here. Hurricane Hannah did come by pretty close to this area, but we're not stating that it was Hurricane Hannah. We're just putting it as a date of discovery. So and just showing them that there's a lot of cracked tile.
Good. So
it could have been debris that hit the tile or something.
So it's probably a hurricane claim, but no one has said yet what it is. What's the adjuster saying that it is? Like on their paperwork or whatever, have you seen anything that says wind, hurricane?
The adjuster, I didn't get information on that. I guess that was sent to the homeowner. The homeowner just mentioned that it was due to foot traffic.
Okay. Now, you said something else. The date of loss, the thing that they reported to them, was the date that they discovered it. And that's what I want to know. Between you and me, and whoever else might see this, what does the client say? What does the property owner say? Like, did they say, man, the roof got all these cracks after the hurricane, for sure? Or do they say, I don't know when it was? Or do they say, it's been there for years? Like, what did they... That's always got to be, in my mind, a part of the equation, like a part of the investigation. And that is, you're looking at everything, you inspect everything, you look at the weather data if you can, do the research on that to try to see, what was going on in the area, when did it happen, right? But also, what does the client say? And so what did they say, if anything?
The client mainly said that the leak started happening with these past bad storms that have been happening through this area in Brownsville.
Okay, so they've noticed the water damage recently, but and that's also very, very important, right? That's equally as important. But what I want to know is, did they notice when the cracks happened to the tile on the roof?
That they did not notice. Okay. I believe. Okay. Until I got up to the roof to tell them or show them, like, hey, you got a lot of cracked tiles up there.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing that they don't know, right? I mean, it's not a crime for them not to know, Like, that's almost a good thing, because it's not, the burden does not lie on them to know when this damage occurred, right? So, but it's important for our investigation, because if it were foot traffic, then the next thing I want to know is, something to either rule that out or support that evidence is, what does the client say? You know what I mean? Like, does the client say, no, they just started seeing it? Well, that would rule it out in my mind. Like, if you believe the client, right? But if they say, no, it's been there forever, well, it could have been foot traffic. Or if they say they don't know, well, then we don't know either way, right? It doesn't help either way. So, but it doesn't back up their theory that it's foot traffic, the fact that they don't know. But it does not, so it doesn't support that evidence, but it also doesn't rule it out, if that makes sense. Okay, so the engineer is coming. These are the things that the engineer is going to want to check first. Like, if you saw that video, most people think when an engineer's coming and they invest all their energy, all their time into the inspection, right? Trying to prove the damage to the engineer. And that's good. That's a valid, thing to do if you can. Like if they'll even listen to you, sometimes they won't even listen to you. Sometimes they don't want you around them. They don't want you on the roof at the same time that they are. They won't let you use their ladder. That's why I would offer to let them use your ladder, right? But when they go up, it is good to try to get them to do a more thorough inspection. Just by you being there, a lot of times will ensure that they will perform a full and thorough inspection. Sometimes not, but a lot of times when you're not there, it's just like it's more incentive for them to take the easy way out, take shortcuts, and not do a full inspection, right? So I do think, but most people put all their energy into that part of the process, whereas that is not the engineer's only priority. In fact, it's not even their top priority. I think most engineers, especially the older ones, they've realized over time that they've wasted far too much of their energy, their effort, and their time and money, quite frankly, if time is money for them, if they realize that that's the case, by going and inspecting deals that were not even ready to be inspected in the first place. Meaning, if that engineer went through their checklist of things that they have to check off, one of the things is, can they find the weather that would have caused damage to this roof? Is there any data to back that up that they can find online, right? Before they even bother going out there. They might still go out there if they can't find anything, but that would be kind of their guiding force, right? The other thing is, what is it? Is it wind or is it hail or something else, right? And so if somebody wrote it up and called it in, they saw the cracks and said, well, there must have been a hailstorm here and it's damaged by hail because look at all the cracks, and they incorrectly assumed that and they reported it as hail when in fact it was really wind. The engineer might go out and find all kinds of hail damage or wind damage, but not find hail damage, or vice versa. If somebody wrote it up as wind, but really it should have been hail, the opposite could happen, right? And so these are all things, I think you saw that from the video, I just wanted to recap, that are very, very important. The engineer, they're going to look at the weather data research, they're going to look at the cause of loss. Another thing they're going to look at, my brother, that I did not mention on that video, I don't think I did, which I wish I would have, but another factor, just more gold nuggets, is they're going to look at, was the client covered during that period? So if someone does report a date of loss on the claim when they call it in, and the engineer goes and does research and finds out that they weren't even covered on that date, or they find weather or damage that could have occurred to cause that damage, but it happened on another date, and so it's outside of their covered period. Or maybe I just had a deal recently where they came over from another insurance company and it still would have been covered, because it was within those statute limits during that time period that was listed in the policy, but they had their dates all out of whack. So those are just some tips. Like if some of these things do go wrong and the engineer does go out and they deny it based on all those any of those things that I just mentioned, really, the easy fix to that, the good news is, and you can sometimes, if you see them going that route, when like, let's say an engineer says, when they go out, they say, I don't see any damage. I don't see any wind damage. I don't see any hail damage, right? This is foot traffic or something like that. The good news is, if they have anything wrong on their date of loss, their cause of loss, the covered time frame, then really one easy fix would be to file a new claim with the correct date and or the correct date of loss and or the correct insurance company. And of course, what would happen then? It would trigger a brand new adjuster, and they would not just continue where they left off on the last claim. Meaning they would not come out and say, oh, well, the engineer already denied you, and that's where we're going to continue on from, denied. No, they have to go back and start at the beginning, right? Because it's a brand new claim. I'm so sorry to ramble, bro, but I want to throw out value. I'm sorry if I threw out something you already knew or repetitive, but tell me more.
So yeah, I mean, in my mind, I'm like, well, Mr. Adjuster, I didn't tell him, like, we were both walking on this roof. How many cracked tiles did we do? How many did we break? No, I didn't. So just in my mind. So the appointment was supposed to be set today.
But that would be and that's good. Good. That's good. That is common sense and logic. But I mean, that's good for me to know, right? That the roof is not in a condition to where you went and walked on it, and that's what and it was just crackling under your feet. But go ahead.
So the inspection was supposed to be set today at 2, but yesterday, from this roof, I had to travel like 2 hours to get to it. Somewhere I'm 2 hours away from where I'm actually located. But the homeowner just had called that they have to reschedule or postpone it maybe for tomorrow, because there's a chance for the engineer, unfortunately, he have gotten COVID-19. So I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I'm already here, but okay, let's see what they say if they'll come back tomorrow. But right now I'm just waiting to see if what the insurance is going to say now due to the inconvenience or the unfortunate event that happened that you may have contracted COVID-19.
This is the engineer?
That's the current situation I'm in.
Okay, well,
in the meantime,
I mean, I would you know what I would do on that? I mean, in my mind, that's an easy fix. Just let's get a new engineer assigned to the case. You know what I mean? Because if you think that might be something that will cause them to retract that and go, and decide not to get an engineer on the deal, that's not going to happen. Like once, you know what I mean? I don't believe that it will. I think once they've made that decision to get it in, and you know what? I think, and by the way, the COVID thing, I had to cancel a bunch of stuff, man. My wife came down with it, and I didn't. Go figure. I think I probably had it back in January, when it was like last January, before we really knew what things were. I was real sick, and I didn't know what it was. I was sicker than I've ever been in my life, man, and it lasted a real long time, and I think that's probably what it was. Maybe that helped me, but I tested negative 3 times. I was around my wife the whole time and did not get it, so go figure. But I had to cancel everything and stay, kind of do the quarantine thing. So I understand that, but in my mind, it would be an easy fix for them to just get a new engineer, because we're talking 10, 14 days minimum of a delay. That doesn't make it, you might be able to do that by contacting the engineering firm and just seeing if they have, someone reassigned. And if not, just going to the desk adjuster to see if they can, speed that along. But I do want to point something out. Because the adjuster denied it already, I don't know that it's a bad thing that the engineer does come out. Maybe the engineer can quickly reverse that. Because as I said in that other video, I've had a lot of engineer meetings that went great, where the engineer agreed with everything. That would be my advice, that you probably saw in that video. Go to the meeting, be humble, diplomatic, respectful. Try to seek their advice, be fascinated by the fact that you get to spend time with an engineer that you can learn from, right? But just let them know that you have to take photos while you're there, because you have to submit a report also. And what do they think about this? And what is their opinion about this? And what is their opinion about that? That's how you kind of draw them into the conversation. Sometimes they won't even discuss it with you. They'll have conversation with you, but they'll be like, you'll see my findings in the report. But you must convey the message. They must understand that you maybe have found foot traffic, but you also found wind damage. See, that would be a benefit in my mind. It's not a bad thing to actually, that if there is foot traffic on that roof that's damaged tile, that would not be like if it has foot traffic and wind damage, then that would be a good thing, because you could point out the foot traffic that would support what the adjuster was saying, but here's the wind damage. Does that make sense? It gives the adjuster a way out too. Like, my bad. I was just talking about, I didn't see that part. So that they don't have mud on their face. But I just think the engineer needs to know that your report that you submit will show mechanical damage, foot traffic, cosmetic, anything that's not as a result of the storm, but it needs to show the damage from the storm. Let them know that the damage from the storm is very clearly indicated. Because, man, let's say there was a bunch of foot traffic on this roof, and it had a ton of cracks all throughout, right? Just like the adjuster's right, tons of cracks. However, a high windstorm comes on the outskirts of Hurricane Hannah, like you described. The fact that the roof was already so broken makes it more susceptible to damage. Meaning, if the wind speed before had to reach a certain level in order to actually cause the tile to fracture, because that's what happens in a windstorm. The tile does fracture, okay? It lifts up and down, and then it tries to find a way to break apart, to find some give, and it cracks. You should see fresh hairline cracks, like fractures, right? High definition drone footage with video can really help you with that. And maybe you could provide that to the engineer and say, feel free to use it. But back to what I was saying. If the roof was in shambles due to foot traffic, like they say, if a windstorm came along, it would not need to reach that high of wind speeds in order to cause further damage to this roof. And that's the key, my friend. If one single tile was damaged, okay, from the new windstorm, even though it had hundreds and hundreds of cracks already on it, if one single tile suffered a new crack, that constitutes new direct physical damage to that roof. So the tile then, that one single tile, would then need to be replaced, right? And that would be a repair for the roof. But the roof, you already told me the tile is discontinued, baby. So I'm just saying, even if they disagree with you and they say it's all foot traffic, can you at least find consensus on any new damage based on that logic, based on the idea that, okay, if it was already damaged, the wind speed that it would have took to cause damage to this tile before has now been dropped down significantly. Are you with me so far on that?
Yep, makes perfect sense.
That's why the engineer meeting is crucial. And see, a lot of guys and gals, they think that, a lot of folks, they just think that, if the insurance company has already ordered an engineer report, then it's already a lost cause. And, that's just simply not true, man. And sometimes because they think that, they won't even go to the engineer meeting. They don't care. Now, just be sure, here's another thing. A lot of times these engineer meetings, I heard you say before that when you had the adjuster meeting scheduled, you went an hour ahead of time. Beautiful. Because you've already learned they like to show up early and trick the contractor, especially if they know you're going to be there, right?
Yep.
Engineers will do the same thing, but another thing that adjusters and engineers will try to do is they'll try to show up and not announce it to anybody, especially if it's just a roof. Like, they'll actually show, especially commercial deals, like they'll just show up. But residential deals too, they'll just show up midday, client's not home, they might even try to call them if they don't answer, and they'll just go out there, stop by, and jump up on the roof, or say they pull up on curbside and say they inspected it, right? So that's why you have to make clear with the client that no one, as a part of this roofing claim process or insurance restoration claim process, no one is to come to any appointment or without an appointment to this property without your contractor being there with them. That's real easy to do, because usually they will not try to come without an appointment. Like, they'll usually, most of the time, 90% of the time, they'll call the client and they might even say, hey, I'm just down the road and I had an opening, can I come now? The answer is no. If I'll try to call my contractor, and if he can make it over here, then yes. If not, no. Because you got to make clear to the client, it's not that you're trying to control everything. It's just that they could be wasting a lot of valuable time, because if you're not there, if this is not done right, they may have to come out and do it again when you're there, and that's just wasting everybody's time, right? So anyway, keep going. Sorry for the poor guy, man, constantly interrupting me. How rude of me.
No, getting that valuable information. Let's see, what else? So yeah, he did call. The original appointment was from I think 11:30 to 12:30, but then later on they gave him a call, just letting him know we have to postpone it to 2:30 to 3 o'clock. And now, yesterday, today they said we have to wait, or we have to hold on to see about the results of this engineer. So I'm like, okay, they changed that 2 times, maybe 3 times. I don't know. It's kind of I don't know if to believe that, and maybe they're just trying to get away from me not being present now. Now that you mentioned that.
No, well, just and the way to solidify that, man, is just make sure you're on the same team with your client. It just does no good if you're not, anyway. I mean, if you're not on these are all, in my opinion, these are all like testing checkpoints for a client. Like, they have to sort of pass your test. They got to be able to, let you do your proper inspection. They have to not put up all these red flags about trying to make money off of the deal. They have to turn over all the data, the information, be transparent with their paperwork when the time does come, like when you sign with them. They have to sign the proper paperwork, right? And make turnover payments as they come in. All of these things are tests, in my opinion. And so, like, if the client is not able to include you in these simple things, these are simple things for the client, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I feel like these are simple things for the client. Like, if they try to do that, then just shut it down by getting the client to call you, right? But is it delaying anything right now? Like are they just trying to shut you down? Or are they trying to find excuses? Look, if the engineers said they got COVID, unless I had reason to believe any otherwise, I would choose to give them the benefit of the doubt and believe that that's the case. I mean, after all, there's a lot of COVID cases out there right now. So I wouldn't, but I think it's not going to move, right? Like, the claim's not going to move at all until that engineer appointment takes place. Like, until that part of the process does take place. The engineer's going to have to come out, and then you're going to have to wait on the engineer to complete their report and submit it to the insurance company, and then you're going to have to wait on the insurance company to review it and write up their determination to you. And if the engineer thinks there's damage, right, that would then constitute the insurance company writing an Xactimate estimate. They may, as they sometimes do, contract the services of a building consultant, someone like myself, which I don't do that for insurance companies, but haven't thus far. Never say never, but I've never done that. They would contract with somebody like myself, a building consultant, to then go out and compile an Xactimate estimate, right? And they would send that out with a check. So really, man, if you're wondering what to do, my advice really is just to make sure at all costs, like this is good because it's all still in front of you, right? Like you haven't missed any opportunities yet. Make sure that you're there for that engineer appointment. And then after that, let's see if we can get it back on track. By back on track, I mean we got it off track by sharing our estimate before they even apply any coverage whatsoever. Like we cannot be writing up estimates until they apply coverage. Why is that anyway? And it's something I know you've heard me say already, dude, 50 times because you're in my course now. And that is, you're hired to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the insurance claim, right? And so how could you write an estimate for anything if you don't know what's being approved for you to even write an estimate on, right? And I know you've learned that already, but I'm just saying that's the lesson going forward. And so that's where it went off track. And I think to get it back on track is, let's play a little chess here. Yeah, me too, man. That's a good thing. That's a good skill to have in this game. Let's assume for a moment that the engineer appointment goes well and they apply coverage. If the adjuster then wants from you an estimate, that's where you want to back up a bit and say just that. I was hired to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you, so I got to know what it is that you're approving for me to write an estimate on. Like, what do you want me to write an estimate on? I use Xactimate just like you. That's the good news. So we use the same prices. So it's not an issue of what do I charge. It's just an issue of, what is it that you want me to put in the estimate? That's what I want to know, brother. I mean, for me, it'd be preferable on all of the first estimates for them to go ahead and write it up. Because they're going to go up, they're going to go out. If they do apply the coverage, they're going to write up the tile, and I understand it's a tile like a mansard outer, roof that goes around the edges, right? And then a modified bitumen that's on the flat portion. Let's let them approve the tile first, if they do. And then the challenge is, do they approve minimal tile or all of it? See, if they do minimal, then we have to go down that road of the discontinued and get them to turn that minimal into a total. And then that would be the estimate that's being written. But I wouldn't expect them at that point to go ahead and approve the mod bit, the flat portion. They're going to try to resist on that, right? They might not, but what if they do? You're like, well, it ties right in. They can't do that. And they, there's a ton of leaks. Okay, great. But what if they shut it down? What if they send an engineer now for that, right? So, I think, and let's say they didn't have an engineer in the first place. This is the course you would want to go down to stay away from engineer, is really, let's not even say anything about the mod bit if we don't have to. Let's let the adjuster make the determination. What shall we do, Mr. Adjuster? What is it that you'd like us to write an estimate on, right? And if they say tile replacement, okay, write up an estimate for tile replacement, assuming you know nothing about the underlayment, you know nothing about the deck, about the energy values, right? The R values, the insulation, the attic. You don't know anything about that. Therefore, you're going to leave all that out because they didn't say to put it in, okay? Let's let them approve that first. Like if they send out a first adjuster, let's let them send out that adjuster and walk into that trap of them just saying, okay, I'm approving all the tile, but nothing else. No underlayment, no deck, no nothing. No mod bit, no interior damages, no nothing. Okay, estimate goes out, check goes out for tile. Then we hit them like, okay, you've prescribed us to do the tile. In order to do the tile, it ties in with the flat section. We have interior damages, interior leaks, and it's not, Mr. Adjuster, we need to now then do this because of all these problems. No, it's in order to do this, we have these other problems. Mr. Adjuster, what should we do? Right? What should we do? Bring the problem and lay it back at their feet. What should we do, Mr. Adjuster? Well, I guess we have to, take a look at the mod bit. Or why do you think the mod bit's going to be a problem, right? And that'll lead you into have to explain why that is, right? And present a case for why that is. And they may have to come out and see it, take photos of it, and write up their report to show why that is. When they come out, let's lead them on the inside. Let's show them the inside. Let's make them go look at every room, closet, and hallway and show them what's on the inside. What should we do about the inside? And they write it up, and they've got on there, well, we're going to paint the room, spot paint it. Well, in order to do that, we got to do it proper. We can't just cover up the wet. We got to take out the drywall. We have to detach and reset the ceiling fan, the light fixture, the HVAC register, the smoke detector. We got to mask and cover the floor. Contents move out, then reset. Mask and tape around the edges where the walls meet the ceiling, right? If the stains are on the walls, or if it's even close to the walls, right? Touching the walls or close to the walls where the ceilings are. Well, when we tear out the ceiling to do that, which, by the way, we would also tear out the wet insulation, apply antimicrobial agent, replace the insulation, replace the drywall, replace the texture, paint the whole ceiling, right? But when we're doing that, when we're taking out that drywall, we're going to damage the paint on the wall. Now we have to deal with painting the wall. Not just one wall, but all the walls wherever they lead in a continuous run. Wall sconces, detach and reset, shelves, mirrors, hardware, door stops, towel bars, toilet paper holders, and on and on and on and on, right? So these are AC returns. What are we going to do about those, Mr. You see what I mean? And at that point...
And is that only done after he applied the coverage?
Yes.
For the first part?
Yes.
And we shoot?
Yes.
Okay.
So you see how we just go into it sort of, we wade into it, into the deep waters little by little, and we are not the ones actually making the determination of what needs to get paid and what items need to get paid for. It's them. We might have to lead it to them. But I think at that point, when you're showing them the interior and all that, let's say you're out there walking around on a re-inspect and you lead them in to show them the interior and they're with you so far, and you see that they're moving to take photos, maybe they're taking out their tape measure to take notes. Look, we use the same software. I use Xactimate, you use Xactimate. I have all this stuff already measured up. Every room's already sketched out. You know what I mean? It's already in, I can get you, based on everything that we've talked about, I think I've got an idea now what needs to go into the estimate. And if you'd like, I'll write the estimate and I'll give you the ESX file. You can put your letterhead on it. Maybe if you feel like you need to remove some things or add some things, you have the ability to do that. And you can make that estimate your own. That way you don't have to do any of the work. You can even use my photos, my Eagle View, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Now, back to the chess game. That's only if they apply coverage, right? Okay. So now the next thing is, what if they don't apply coverage? Well, if they don't apply coverage because of they didn't find necessary, straight up direct physical damage, they didn't find the cause of loss. Okay, that's one thing. But if it's due to any of those other things we talked about before, then like if it's the wrong date of loss, the wrong cause of loss, the wrong insurance company or the wrong policy that it was filed under, then boom, the client files a new claim, starts it all over, gets a new adjuster out. That would be the move there, right? However, if it's not because of any of those reasons and it is because they didn't find direct physical damage, then we would move to try to see if the adjuster can get another engineer on it. This is a little more of a stretch and more far-fetched, but I'm coming off of a multi-million-dollar deal right now that I've been working on for a while. It's 4-point-something million is the early estimates on it, and it's a big commercial claim, and they've actually contracted multiple engineers, and and we're finding approved coverage with other challenges that I'm going to make a video on later. But anyway, if it's because of the direct physical loss, though, they can't seem to find it. We try to get them to appeal, see if they can get another engineer on it. They probably won't. We tried to submit our own report, our own photo report, showing them common sense black and white logic. However, it's probably not going to work because, as I said on that other video, adjusters will use these engineer denials as a way of giving themselves insulation, a layer of plausible deniability, to where they can say, I cannot approve it under any circumstances because an expert who has a higher level of expertise than I do, like if you think of in terms of a court expert witness, for example, has ruled that out, right? Kind of like a homicide detective can't make it a murder because the coroner is not ruling it a homicide. It's kind of like that kind of thing, right? So they feel like they cannot overrule an expert that has more authority than they do. Okay, and but I have seen them do it, but it's rare. It means that probably the only way around your dilemma at that point is to hire your own engineer. That should be the solution. Sorry for all my rambling and long way of getting there, especially if you're watching this, right? But that should be the solution. Meaning, if it really is valid damage like you believe that it is, I mean, because sometimes you might hire an engineer who's good. See, their engineers are not good, typically. Sometimes they are, but usually, in my experience, 7 or 8 times out of 10, these insurance engineers, and they might be good, but they're not putting the work in. Like, they're going the lazy route. They are using cut and paste stuff. They're not even really doing complete investigations. So they're not very good. So it should be, most engineers should be considered to be able to do a better job than these engineers, because all they have to do is if they really are qualified to do this, you're looking at not just structural engineering, but forensic causation. If you can get your hands on that type of engineering, right? But
yeah, I actually have one already set and ready in case something goes bad. I forgot to mention that to you. I hired an engineer here just to be on the safe side. They're not completely hired, but I sent them the photo report of everything, and they're willing to go further and do forensic investigation of witness.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is phenomenal, right? The fact that you already have an engineer lined up who does specialize in that is spectacular, and consider yourself well ahead of all of your competition and anybody else that might see this content, because that's going to be the real hard part. The real challenge for most people is to find that engineer. One reason is because a lot of them don't like to do work against a carrier, because they like to take carriers' work, like insurance company work, right? And so that's one challenge. The other is availability. The ones that are availability, it's hard to get them to do it. The other is their timing, like trying to get them out there in a decent manner of time, like in a decent time period is hard to do. And then getting them to turn their reports around, right? Those are all the major challenges to doing this. But you having that already locked up, that is phenomenal, right? And I would say, one final thing, usually, I don't know what you're paying, but usually the service is expensive, right? Like, it's usually not cheap to do this. I remember one guy on an apartment complex tile roof wanted to charge me $15,000 for all of his fancy methods, and he's gonna test the tile in a lab to see if it was damaged by hail, which I think is great, but I just don't know. I don't believe that it was worth $15,000, especially since that particular claim we didn't even have any applied coverage at all, so there was literally no cash available to start paying for these services. You can get the insurance company though to pick up this cost if we can get it bought, right? But until then, we got to come up with the cash to front it. And that, if you're doing that on a lot of jobs, or if it's a lot of money, then that's not a good thing. But you should be able to find, in most jobs, especially residential deal, $3,000, $3,500 or less, ought to be able to get it done. Maybe considerably less, and that price might even be able to buy a commercial claim. For anybody that's seen it, there could be lots of different prices quoted for this type of service, which is why it's good to get lots of opinions and things like that. But I'm just saying, it's expensive. So a lot of people ask me, should I come out the gate with an engineer report? Before even getting shut down with engineer reports, sometimes maybe. But I think if you do that, you run the risk of, if you open with an engineer report, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, okay, well, just to be fair, we're going to have our engineer take a look at it, right? So I think you might be asking for an engineer report a lot of times without wanting to. I know that doesn't apply here because it's already at that case. But I think with all that being said, dude, I think you've got your answer. You let the thing play out, you go out, for right now, you try to rush the engineer appointment if you can. Not really rush it, but see if you can get, it's sitting on somebody's desk right now, right? The ball's been dropped, not intentionally. Give them the benefit of the doubt. But let's see if we can contact the engineering firm, see if they can send someone else. If it's a big firm, that's not going to be an issue. Because they don't want to lose the work from the carrier, right? That's why I would call them first to see if, hey, you're going to lose the money on this because they're going to hire somebody else, right? But if that doesn't work, contact the desk adjuster, say, hey, what I understand is this guy has, COVID, so can we get this thing rescheduled? Blah, 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 right? And then making sure that you solidify things with the client so that you're there when the client or when the engineer comes. And I think you know how to play it now with the engineer actual appointment. You try to, follow up to speed the engineer along because they're going to delay by sending them emails that you copy the carrier with, that desk adjuster. Like, hey, how you doing? Hope everything's going well. Now that it's been 10 days or whatever, I just wanted to see how we're coming along, check the status of your report, right? Because try to get his card so you can send those type of emails. But copy the desk adjuster. That way the engineer knows that the insurance company knows that they are not getting it done. You see what I mean? That'll be the way to keep them moving along. It might irritate them, but hopefully, so don't rush to do that. But if they say they're going to get it done by Monday, expect that it's automatically going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. But don't send that email until Wednesday. Does that make sense? So.
Yeah, okay. Give it a little bit of time, don't rush.
And that's about it, dude. Do you think that covers it for you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised to hear how much the engineers cost, because this engineer was going to charge me about $650 for the first start, and then just any other additional emails that have to respond back is just additional charge. But
listen, I think that's a
lot.
and I think that's a reasonable cost what he's charging you, especially because it's a relationship that's more long term, right? That's I think it's good on him for doing that. I think it's silly to crack these guys' heads for a single part of the process,
Yeah, I mean, usually engineer, I heard, it's the last resort, so that's why you want to be diplomatic about it.
That's right.
But what's it called? So
you have a major advantage, brother, that you've got that on your team, and because it hasn't happened yet, it hasn't been denied yet. It's out in front of you, and if there's anything you can do to avoid that, you're going to do it to where you left it out all on the field. So if it does get denied, it's not going to be because of anything you did or didn't do. How do you like the course so far, brother?
I'm loving it. I've been having to hear it through audio only at the moment because I hear it while I'm working.
Oh,
I'm
good.
doing the roof as well and hearing you, and I think others are also hearing it at the same time, but I don't think they're paying too much attention because they don't know what's going on.
They're like, who is this dude running his mouth? That's awesome.
I think I'm at the adjuster's part, but I know I have to go back and actually see it because I think it shows something about the Xactimate that you can see it.
Okay.
So, but I'm just trying to. I was gonna give you a call just to make sure and verify the process. But I think I may have failed the process today.
No, you're doing fine, man. Listen, the process isn't always set in stone because, and this is the beauty about it, and you'll like this because of your appreciation for chess. Every single deal is different, right? Every deal is different. This is what I love about it. This is what really fascinates me is that you have to strategize. It requires some war planning. You know what I mean? Like some strategic thought. Where you sit down and you do play a little game of chess. Like, if they do this, I'm going to do this. But if they do this, I'm going to do this. And if they do this, I'm going to do this. Right? And then, based on any one of those three moves that I make, if they do this, I'm going to do. Now you have, a whole nother row of combinations, right? That you have to now figure out. And that's what I spend most of my time doing. But in all cases, I like them to make the move so that I can let the game come to me and I can react. I can counter punch, if you will. Right? I don't like to throw the first punch. I like to see what they think and see what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? See their cards and then react with the strategy that's going to counter what they're trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That is chess. So in this case, I hired this was another house. It's a residential. It's about 70 squares of shingles. It's State Farm, and he went ahead straight off. He gave me his declaration. He does have the OL coverage and all that stuff.
Good.
Which is good. The deductible's $5,000. So I guess that lets me know if he has the actual. Replacement cost
check for limits on that OL coverage, ordinance and law.
500.
500?
More than enough. Yeah.
Oh, 500,000. Got it.
Yeah, 500,000.
Got it.
So I decided to go ahead and try another supplement guy that does it claims. So I went ahead. I had the homeowner and the daughter make the go ahead and proceed to call the insurance and send out an adjuster. But the daughter gave me a call or text message yesterday saying that they would like to see photos first. So I asked the other guy, and he says, yeah, he's going to go ahead and proceed with doing the Xactimate photo report, but he also went ahead and gave them the estimate of the replacement of the roof.
Yeah. We don't. That's all right, man. We just got to we'll work on that part of it,
So
I think I told you before, like, you might need to make it your goal to build that out. Your inspections, your estimating, and your supplementing all internally. So that you can centralize and control that in-house. And I know you're wanting to hire somebody else because of the experience level, but honestly, you could hire an adjuster full-time to come to work for you. And don't just think that they're going to be awesome and defer to them. Quite the contrary, they're going to be like a regular adjuster that we encounter that we have all these problems with. They're going to be brainwashed. They're going to need they're going to need to retrain their brain according to your way of doing things. However, you wouldn't need to teach them how to do Xactimate, how to do inspections, how things work with an insurance company in order to get supplements, done. I would try to hire a very experienced adjuster that's kind of, worked for multiple companies before, has been CAD adjuster, field adjuster, has been inside desk adjuster, and bring them in to work for me and build that out internally. That's my advice. But I think we need to keep that for a separate phone call.
Yeah. So the adjuster would act, as you would say, the inspection part of the process.
Yeah, depending on how many jobs you have, you may need multiple inspectors, multiple estimate writers, and multiple supplementers to talk to insurance companies on the phone and follow up and sends emails, right? But if you don't have a lot, maybe one person can be the inspector who is also the estimate writer, who is also the supplementer, who spends all the time with them on the phone, following up, sending emails. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's just one person at first, but that one person builds out those 3 different departments or divisions within your company over time, and starts inserting more pieces underneath them. And then sooner or later, you have a head of each division. You have a head of your, inspection division. You have a head of your estimating division, your estimate writing division, and a head of your supplementer division. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So right now I'm just trying to get I'm trying to get a system in place. I'm trying to understand what the system should be. Because right now I'm carrying the whole load. I'm the sales guy, I'm the marketing, I'm the guy that does the work, that orders material.
Have you seen my hey brother, have you seen my recent video on how to set up supplemental system?
Yeah, the supplemental
that right here.
Yeah. Every YouTube thing that, I'll probably watch it within that day of release. That's how I'm
awesome, bro.
Today. I'm just trying to get so much information. But the way how I understand it with Lee Hayes, and then with Deshaun Bryant, and then now with you, just correct me if I'm wrong. So I go knock on the door. They agree to go to, pursue the insurance. We go ahead and write up a contingency form. I do a brief inspection, see to make sure it is enough where we can pursue it. Later on, come back, do a 2-hour thorough inspection, taking at least 200, 300 photos. Have the owners make a claim without me, telling them, because you did mention it against the law for us to have them make the claim. But have them come out with the adjuster, let the adjuster play his cards, and just have him agree to pay.
You left out you sound great with a couple different things. Like, first I would say, no, I would not do the detailed inspection first. I would first do a walkthrough. And you need to watch my video, selling the job. I'll link that up here. You got to see that video to see exactly what I'm talking about there. You're doing a walkthrough while doing a presentation at the same time with them, but not doing the photos or the measurements yet. In fact, you're leaving out a very crucial part of the process, in my opinion, if you want to know my opinion. And that is, you got to make sure they sign a contract, brother. I would never, ever, ever go out and meet with an adjuster. I mean, with my one video, the insurance adjuster, the property owner, and the roofer is with the title on that one. Link that. It starts out with, I would never, ever, 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 remember that? I would never, never, ever, never, ever, never, ever, never, ever, never, ever give them a copy of my Xactimate. I'd never give them a copy of my Xactimate estimate, and I would never go out and meet with an adjuster or engineer or anybody, okay, unless they already signed a contract with me.
All right. So I think I'm having that little problem.
Listen, brother, that's not a little problem. That is a huge problem.
It's my problem understanding of what the difference is. Like, is contingency not? It's different from a contract, right? It's the actual contract.
I mean, you're in the course, so you've got my paperwork on it. Mm-hmm. My paperwork is not a contingency, right? It's not a contingency. It's paperwork that you sign up right at the beginning that lasts all the way through. Because where you put a price, the price is that it's for the total approved insurance replacement cost value, right? And it's written in like that. There is no dollar amount. So if it's signed in the beginning like that and then gets approved for a certain amount, you never have to go back and do what a lot of people consider a build contract. I never understood that. No offense to those who believe in that philosophy. But if you did that, then the next time you get them to add more money, you got to go out and get them to sign another contract. And then the next time you get them to add more money, I mean, there might be 7 different supplements, 7 different times they add money to it, right? And so my paperwork that you already have, bro, would be a formula so that once it's executed in the beginning, it never, ever, ever has to be changed. All the money continues to go to you no matter what. All payments due to my company as they arrive and are released by the mortgage company, right? And so,
Yeah. Gotta look at that.
yeah,
Okay,
go back
so-
and do some. And listen, well, I gotta go, but because I'm getting ready to go into a meeting here shortly. But let's talk more on that. But I think you got what you need for now is the engineer stuff. We'll talk more about some of that other process stuff later.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate that.
All right, my man. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it though, brother. Keep getting it. Keep getting it in. Keep going. Keep grinding. You're gonna be so much further along than I ever thought about being when you get to my age.
Appreciate the comment.
All right.
Thank you for your time, Chad, for your experience and all the tips.
My pleasure, man.
You
My
take care.
pleasure. You too, brother. Much love. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Awesome, dude.